let's start from a coaching standpoint. I think just a couple of weeks ago, somebody was asking, has there ever been a big coaching change super late in the season, right before the playoffs? And we're like, yeah, there's one or two that have happened. And what do you know? We've got back-to-back weeks here with less than 10 games to go. First, it's Vegas with Tortorella. Now, one of the greatest goaltenders in the history of hockey, Patrick Roy, out as head coach of the New York Islanders, replaced by the name we've all been waiting for. Just waiting for it. Pete DeBoer is back for his 6th head coaching job as the Islanders. They've lost 4 straight. They're now on the outside looking in for a playoff spot. They've lost 7 of the last 10. Razor, how do we feel about this one?
Well, this one I think is a little different than the Torts one that we saw last week, in that Matthew Darche, the New York Islanders, decided probably a little while ago, but especially this week, that Patrick Roy was not coming back next year no matter what. So let's pivot. Let's go get our guy now. Let's get the number 1 free agent coach right now, so he doesn't have 5 offers from 5 other teams that are more and that have different options. Let's just lock this guy up. That's what they went out and did with 4 games left. So the Torts thing was a Vegas team that's going to get in the playoffs, that they needed a little boost, and the players had tuned Cassidy out. This one, from all accounts, is they didn't love the way they were playing. The structure wasn't what they needed going forward. If they get in, great, but more likely than not, they've got their guy for next year with Matthew Schaefer. He signs a 3-year contract that lines up with the general manager, and it's more of a long-term play rather than a short-term play.
Commie?
Yeah, I agree with Razor. It's really, I think at the end of the day, like Razor just said, get him off the market right now. Now we got him. What a gig this head coaching, though.
It is a racket, isn't it? It's a big Ponzi scheme.
Oh, man, these guys just get shuffled. Once you're in, now don't get me wrong. It's not easy to get in. You got to coach a long time. Like, I get it. Like, it's not like you just, I'm going to coach, and next thing you know, the Islanders are calling you. So you got to put your time in. But once you're in, unless you do something incredibly stupid, you are sticking around and making some coin for a long time. But you know what? I met Pete DeBoer last year. Seemed like a nice dude. So happy for him. I'm sure he's excited. I'm sure he would have known he would have had some offers too in the off season. So he must have kind of liked what he see on the island. So good for him.
Yeah, so he obviously had time to choose, because he had time left on his contract from Dallas, so he could kind of sit and wait and be a little more particular. But, I wanted to throw this from a player's standpoint for you guys, because you kind of touched on something there, Commie. So here's DeBoer, over 1,200 games he's coached in the National Hockey. I like Pete going back to when he was on the bench as an assistant with the World Juniors back in the mid-2000s. But Panthers, Devils, Sharks, Golden Knights, Stars, and now here with the Islanders. As players, how do you guys feel about the retread coach coming in compared to, say, a new coach? Do you prefer the devil or do you prefer just a fresh voice? Like, I don't know, Commie, start with you on this one. Like, how do you feel about, what's the perception of the retread? Because 2/3 of the league, you've got coaches, I think almost 20 coaches in the National Hockey League right now have at least had 2 jobs or more.
No, yeah. Well, I'll say I don't really care who's coming in as long as it works out well for me and I'm sticking around and I'm getting minutes. I'll tell you, that would be the most important thing. Yeah. So, I've had it work out in my career both ways where, well, I guess Arneal was the new guy in Columbus. That worked out great for me. So I wish Hitch wouldn't have got canned. That was terrible for me. So maybe I wouldn't have minded a retread there. That would have been nice. But I guess I don't know if players. I guess it depends on which player and where you're at in your career. I guess maybe if you're an older guy and a new guy coming in, I would just think maybe you don't like that quite as much. But for me, I think it just boils down to an individual perspective for sure.
It's kind of where you are in your career. If you're a young guy coming up, you want a young guy's awesome, because typically they're a little more open-minded. They're a little bit more open to younger guys, especially when we played too. When Commie and I played, you had real old school guys who wouldn't even look at young kids, right? Yeah. Like if you were a young kid and you had Mike Keenan, forget it. There's just, you're not playing. Like it's not even a question. So for me, I always liked early on, the young guy was like good, but I think overall the retread is better as a player for the most part. I'd rather know exactly what I'm getting than getting a guy who doesn't know which door to go into in a visiting room. That just like for me, I had one of those coaches once, and it was really hard to respect him and really hard to like get behind his message when he'd never really gone through the NHL before. Yeah, I felt as a team it was really hard to respect and believe it. So I understand completely why if I'm a general manager, I'm going for the guy who's had success. Pete DeBoer's had more success than anyone really lately.
Yeah, it's always the resume can matter in the eyes of some players. So, okay, now management. There's been a lot over the last week here as well. Let's start with the freshest one, and that's with the New Jersey Devils. Tom Fitzgerald out after almost 11 years with the organization. He took over in an interim role in 2020, and he's been the guy ever since. But look, I think the Devils. I think everybody's been kind of seeing this window for now for the Devils, and it's clearly not happening. This year, another belly flop. Commie, Devil alumni, what's happening in New Jersey?
Yeah, they keep me up to speed on everything going on there.
An alumni game soon enough.
Yeah, I'm sure that will be. You know what? It's out east, so I don't see him as much. I will say. Yeah. Like 2 years ago, I remember watching the Devils play. I was in Calgary, and I was like, wow, these guys look good. Like, they're fast. They can move. Yeah. And I'm like, man, they got to, like, I think this is going to be a good team. These guys are all young. Like, things are looking great. And pretty much since then, like, I feel like they've made moves where I've been like, yeah, that makes sense. That might work. I don't mind that. It should work. And I just really hasn't worked out. And from that point, a couple of years ago when that team got 100 points and looked great to now, it's just kind of been a steady decline. So, I mean, it also doesn't help when, not that it's ever one thing. I'm sure it's a combination of a bunch of things, but, Hughes not being able to stay healthy, whether it's, his shoulders or a steak knife or whatever the hell it is, that doesn't help either. When
no more team dinners.
Yeah, no kidding. So, but yeah, from the way outside looking in, I could see why they would be looking to move on.
Racer?
Yeah, for all those things. He's made some great moves that it looks like are going to work great on paper, and it hasn't worked. And at some point, you can only do that for so long. You can only miss the playoffs 2 years in a row, and you have a really good lineup and really good players on paper that seem to be going the right way. And he's been there a long time. So now all of these firings are happening, and you feel like probably as an owner, you're getting a little antsy. Like anyone with a job right now should be really nervous that this is happening at the end of the year like this, because inevitably owners are looking and talking to each other, and they don't want to miss the boat on the next guy. And that's kind of what I feel happening, because now inevitably Jersey has to get a GM to fire their coach. Keefe's going to get fired because the new GM's coming in. Then they need to get a coach. Like this whole thing starts ramping up pretty quickly. And it's amazing that teams are getting ahead of it before the season even ends. You could see, like I could see as something coming into play where you can't fire a general manager with 5 games left. Like I could see a rule coming in to the NHL here soon, because I can't imagine Bettman loves these kind of news stories over taking a playoff run that is going on right now.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I guess so, but it's finding talking points to talk about the league. We've kind of killed the trades, right? Because of in the cap era and everything, dollars in, dollars out, and trying to make it all work. We just don't get those hockey trades that we used to. That could still be water cooler conversations. Not that there's a lot of water coolers around these days, but you know what I mean, like those conversations. And so, yeah, I can see it from both sides. I do wonder if, Quinn Hughes could still wind up in New Jersey in another year and a half from now, but you do wonder if there was any fallout from that, not ultimately landing in New Jersey even this year, with Hughes ultimately leaving Vancouver for Minnesota. But nevertheless, another GM job is open.